Republicans may have to rethink their impeachment strategy now that you know whose former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, says he's willing to testify if subpoenaed. Why do you think he's decided to do that now?
Well, he decided the day after Soleimani was killed. The very day, the next day. It's a suspicious thing that he's doing, in my opinion, because he's a big war hawk and wanted to go after Iran, from what I understand, and then they did it without him. So maybe he's ticked off at Trump. I'm not sure for that. Or maybe he wants to get back into his graces so that he can bomb another country, because he likes that. That's where he's at, Bolton.
That's interesting. See, I think he ultimately has a conscience. And not everybody does. You may disagree with him on how he views the world and foreign policy and politics, but I think ultimately you go to bed so many nights and wake up the next morning and look in the mirror and one, you think how beautiful my mustache looks, but two, you probably say, I know too much. And I know things that Congress doesn't know, maybe. I know things the American people don't know. And I'm doing the right thing for the country by speaking out, because he didn't have to say, I'm willing to testify. And him doing that, he's sort of saying, hey, if you ask me,
why didn't he do it when the Democrats controlled?
That's what I mean. I think he's had time to think about it. I think he's had time to figure out what his... And why I think he's such a good person to hear from is he's been critical of impeachment. He's someone that I think would be speaking off of what he thinks is right, not what politically he believes or doesn't believe. This is because you remember he was the one when he heard about the call right after it happened. He wasn't on the call. And he was alarmed by it. So he ran to find the transcript and found that the transcript was already locked in this
He also
compartment.
called the Ukrainian call like a drug deal. So it does lean in that direction.
Well, I think what's also interesting is that he also has said that he wanted to be subpoenaed and that he would testify pursuant to a subpoena. And the court process really did go on. And the federal judge basically said that that process was moot. And so that, I think, hurdle is over for him. And he's again saying, if I'm subpoenaed, I will testify. I think what's interesting is that the White House has sort of blocked all these people from, testifying. And in my experience, if there is a witness that has exculpatory evidence, if there's a witness that says everything is fine, if there's a witness that says you didn't do anything, you want that witness to testify on your behalf. I have never had the experience that if there is a witness that says something great about you, that you prevent that witness from testifying. So why doesn't the White House want Bolton to testify? Why doesn't the White House want all these people to testify, right? I mean, that doesn't make sense. And so the White House, 70% of Americans want these people to testify. They want to hear from these folks in the impeachment trial. So I think Bolton should testify, and I don't think that the White House... But the White House shouldn't.
But that's what I was going to say, is that McConnell is not going to allow this to happen. So, again, it's another sort of like pipe dream that we're talking about in the media. I will say, Joy, you're completely right. He tweeted, congratulations to all involved in eliminating Soleimani, long in the making. This was a decisive blow against Iran's malign Quds Force activities worldwide. Hope this is the first step, and this is where it's at, in the regime change in Tehran. Now, you hear a lot of people on the left talking about regime change wars. And up until this point, we had heard President Trump saying that he was against regime change wars. There are war hawks, which I guess you would probably put me in that category, and then there's John Bolton. And I'm sorry, to say that he somehow grew a conscience today, this is a political animal that has lasted several administrations. My take on it, he knows that Trump is going to hedge on this because this isn't popular, and he wants regime change wars, and he's going to want to go to the next administration to help it happen one way or another.
So
that is my take on
it.
Yeah, but he's not going to...
How is he endearing himself to Trump?
Yeah, I'm confused.
He's not, because Trump, I mean, do you think Trump's getting reelected? No matter what, he's going to want to retain power one way or the other and retain influence. He's not just going to want to go back to being a
So you think he doesn't think Trump will be reelected?
I don't think he thinks, or I think he's hedging his bets on whichever person is going to help him with his global perspective on regime change wars, and he is the architect behind so much of this. He was in the Bush administration. I believe that he was now, or at least with some kind of influence.
But testifying at the impeachment trial, how does that help?
I'm just saying the idea that he just went home and grew a conscience is like, maybe I've just been in politics too long, but I think that's a
Well, I've also been in politics with my upbringing too.
Sorry,
and a lot of people have been around politics or know politics, whether you have family in it or not. this show's about opinions. My opinion on this is that I think he's someone that has seen a lot and knows a lot that has happened in that White House. And I've read his tweets for the past while since he's been out of the White House. It seems like he wants to have a voice. He wants people to know
he wants
what
to
went
work
on.
again, and he wants to
but he left the White House
untainted by the Trump administration.
Well, there's no love
very
lost
clear
between Trump and Bolton, right? I mean, Trump says that that he was fired,
and we will find out how much love is lost. You know, back in 1999, we're moving a little bit. When Bill Clinton was being tried for impeachment, Republicans like Lindsey Graham had a lot different take on letting witnesses have their say. Take a look.
You can have 3 days of lawyers talking to each other on both sides, 16 hours of questions, and basically bore everybody to death, talk everybody to death. But when you have a witness who was there, who was engaged in it, who was in the middle of it, telling you about what they were doing and why, it's a totally different case, and it's the difference between getting the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Right.
So here's the question. What happened?
Well,
I mean, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. It's, you know, if everybody is equal under the law, then if you're on trial, you got to have the witness.
And that's what happens at a trial. You have witnesses.
Is political.
But you have...
And he's on one side in 1999, he's on another side in 2019.
I understand, but the law is the law.
It's a trial.
You're asking why he's speaking differently in that.
Well, no, I know. You know, I've watched this man totally, you know, change his feathers and shockingly go for things that he would not have stood for before. Right. I don't think it's good when the left does it. I don't think it's good when the right does it. I don't think anybody is okay with pooping on the law. And I don't. You know, I'm sorry. I just I feel very strongly about it.
Before he became Trump's lapdog, he was not as popular as he is in South Carolina right now. And since he's been up his butt, the guy, his numbers have gone through the roof. His numbers have gone really high.
But isn't it about process? Isn't it about process?
Am I right about that? That his numbers are in the 70s.
Can I, am I?
Well, just have one question.
My take on this as well.
He knows the answer.
I do. I talked to him day before yesterday. I will say that when it comes to Lindsey Graham, I think we can talk all day long about consciences in politics. My take on politics is a lot of people sway one way or another. I think his take is that as long as he is influencing Trump in one way or another, he thinks that he can influence for his, for the politics that he thinks is best. And you were right. When he was virulently anti-Trump, he was doing very poorly in South Carolina. And now he will probably more than handily win his reelection. And I'm sorry, just the idea that we're going to sit here and act like, it's easy to sit on a TV set and say, oh, conscience, whatever. Politics is politics is politics, and it's a really dirty game. And it's particularly dirty right now when we possibly could be going to war with Iran.
Well, the Constitution is the Constitution is the Constitution.
I agree, but
it seems to me that politics don't trump the Constitution.
I am not negating. I'm not talking about that. I think I need to make this very clear in 2020. I'm not here to talk about the ethics of it. I'm here to explain the politics of it once again.
I didn't realize that politics and ethics are two different things.
A lot of times they are.
Wow.
A lot of times they are. Trump is president. What are you talking about? Wow. Trump is president.
So Lindsey Graham has no ethics? So he doesn't sworn to abide by the Constitution?
He's playing a political game. And I think
shame on him, because I thought he was sworn to follow the Constitution, and he is not doing it.
Again, I know that everyone wants me to come on here and rip his you-know-what open. I can't. I won't. Stop asking me to do it in 2020.
Well, then I'm happy to do it.
By all means.
Not following the Constitution.
By all means.
We'll be back.